Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 122 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada. We're recording on Monday, March the 5th, 2018.
All right, I'm Marty, hunter and sports shooter in rural southern Ontario.
I'm Gavin, a Super Delta Airborne Ranger SEAL Commando with over 100 operational deployments into Kyle's mom.
Nice. Do they give medals for that?
I'm still waiting.
Danger pay at least.
Oh, definitely.
And
So
probably
Kyle,
the special shots.
Yeah, Kyle,
Yeah.
if you're listening, fuck you.
Now, you don't have to pay taxes for that service, right?
I should have been paid a lot for that service. It was not a good deployment at all.
As always, my name is Andrew. I'm a recovering libertarian competitive shooter and a firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactical. None of my valor was stolen, but I did play a cop on TV once.
It's true, we did.
Need to see that episode.
True story.
Yeah, no, I actually acted on a TV show once that was on NBC.
Well,
I played a SWAT cop. Well, acted. I got to hold an airsoft gun and pointed at a, air quotes, terrorist. It was Toronto.
They didn't ask him back.
Yeah.
No, I didn't get invited back. It's like, this airsoft gun is bullshit.
Why is there no sights on this AR-15? Shut up and shoot a zombie.
Why is my ACOG on backwards?
Yeah.
Why was my sling a luggage strap? The center armor was not enthralled with my shenanigans.
You should have fixed
Seriously, though, go check out Conviction on NBC. I'm in the episode where they take down the terrorist.
Do you got an episode number or just that one? Where
I
they
don't.
I think it was like episode 1, wasn't it? Like it was the first
No.
And only.
It was in season 1. Somebody else do an intro, and I'll go check the IMDb. And
I think it was
what
season 1, episode 1, and they blew all the budget on luggage straps.
Yeah. In the first 10 minutes.
I'm Better Andrew, a sports shooter, and according to the wasteful government, a small tax shelter owner and part of the 1%.
Oh, one of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Tim. I'm a sports shooter, husband, and father of 3, and I'm the owner and operator of Tim's Good T-shirts. They're quite good, and I'm the proud descendant of immigrants.
Nice. Well, if Andrew's doing some interning, I'll do this part for him. So we'd love to hear your feedback about the show. So please visit Canadian Patriot Podcast/feedback. Mail us at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes. And if you want, we'd really love some more 5-star iTunes reviews. So Kyle or Kyle's mom, if you're listening, a 5-star review on iTunes would be awesome. Thanks, guys.
If we get anything less than a 5-star from Kyle's mom, we know who to blame.
Yeah.
All right, as always, you can check out the podcast, facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast, or Instagram at instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
We need your help to support the show. Visit www.patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get the uncensored audio version of the show for just $1 per episode, and the more you pledge, the better the rewards are. Show you're not a communist. Buy a CPP T-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft, and visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right. Always go to the right.
Okay, so I think I found the episode I was looking for. I think it's season 1, episode 12. It was called Enemy Combatant, and it was definitely Conviction on NBC. So,
And it's like the
sorry
first
for the
10 minutes. Yeah, the first
It was
10
not a
minutes.
popular TV show. No, the first minute.
Yeah.
My friends and I, because I am friends with a bunch of people that were cast to play the extras, including
Right.
one who was an actual cop, although not a New York City police officer.
Well, and our good friend Tyler is also there with you.
That's right. Tyler was one of the other cops. We stole much valor and collected all of the badge bunnies.
Well, I mean that adds to your credibility right there, right? Your street cred is at least 14% higher because you've played a cop on TV now.
I would say it's worth 1 bushel.
Yes, agreed.
Somehow I don't believe you. I don't see you on the credits on IMDb.
Well, we know it must be on the internet to be true. I really am. I promise, I really am there. Let's do the Arrowhead Coffee promo. Arrowhead Coffee is owned and operated by Canadian Armed Forces veterans, the actual variety of veterans, not the stolen valor variety. They love our country, the true north, strong and free, their family and friends. Join Arrowhead Coffee on their hunt for the perfect brew to raise morale and bring that feeling of home to you, no matter where you are.
I just want to say,
portion of all profits help.
Sorry.
Can I finish my ad read?
Yes, sir.
A portion of all profits helps Canadian Armed Forces members, veterans, and their families. Yes, Tim.
Yes, I was just going to say, if you're a connoisseur of good coffee, you'll see that these veterans aren't asking too much.
Oh, nicely played.
Thank you.
Nicely played.
Sorry, yeah, I got so excited. I was, and then I stomped all over your commercial.
I feel like you practiced that ahead of time. Stayed up late, looked in the mirror last night.
With much.
All right, let's do what are we drinking? Other Andrew, what are you drinking?
I got a bunch of different ciders.
Better Andrew, actually. It's Better Andrew, not
Yes.
Other Andrew.
Thank you very much. Mostly Canadian's pear cider and Recorder Lake cider.
Right on. Kevin, what are you drinking?
As per listener requests, someone said Scotch. So I am drinking some Highland Park 10-year-old Viking Scars Scotch that I got from my lovely girlfriend for Valentine's Day.
I hope you let cost you your whole wallet, because I'm not gonna lie, that was me.
Oh, I know. I've also got some sweet, for those of you that are watching, like stainless steel bullet things to keep my whiskey cold without diluting it.
Nice.
Yeah. So cheers.
Yeah.
Stainless steel. Oh, that's a lot better than the lead I was.
Yeah.
Probably cuts down on the twitches. Marty, what are you drinking?
Crown Northern Harvest and Coke Zero.
Classic.
Why do my Tim notes? Why do my show notes say liberal fucking Tim? That seems needlessly expletive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Rather aggressive.
the liberal part. I mean, really, like that's just offensive.
Bro, fucking Tim is drinking Bush because I'm feeling like a poor Ontarioan. I guess I am.
Happens to the best of us. Oh, I guess that's me. I'm up. Huh, lost my spot. I'm drinking Crown Royal Salted Caramel.
Ooh,
It is magically delicious.
Straight?
Caramel or caramel?
I don't know. Caramel? Caramel? I don't know. It's pretty good. It's I think I still prefer the
caramel.
middle one, but it's pretty good.
Fairly certain it's caramel.
Yeah. Yeah. All right then. News. Yeah, let's do the news. This is making for great show content. Let's do the first one. Global News has an article from Danielle Smith. Court delivers a blow to free speech. So there's a couple of students groups at a couple of universities that are petitioning the student union to be accepted as formal clubs at those institutes of higher education, and they have been prohibited from becoming official clubs. What that means in practical terms is recognized students' clubs are allowed to use Club Week to promote membership drives, to book rooms for free, to advertise events on campuses, to be able to bring speakers onto campus, etc. And this is a couple of different places: University of Toronto, I think at the Mississauga campus, University of Ontario Institute of Technology, Durham College, and of course, because we can't have stupidity in higher education without Ryerson University.
Good old Rye High.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, as always, it comes down to this was actually heard, and the result was that this wasn't an infringement on free speech or free expression rights because the groups can still exist. But essentially, if they're not allowed to be part of the student union, they're not allowed to operate on campus. They're not allowed to, recruit students. So it's, I don't know. I thought the verdict was pretty thin on the explanation.
Well, I mean, anything that goes against their liberal idea is going to get banned, whatever it is. Like, even if it somehow manages to become official, they'll be like, no, you can't do that. It hasn't been sanctioned, or this or that, or whatever, right? Like, oh, you held it on Tuesday instead of on Wednesday.
Well, and that's all of the student unions that are denying these groups have policy statements saying that they support free expression and free association. But it's even in this article. Yeah, it's even in this article, which is surprising for global, but it does say, if you only allow speech that you agree with and you only allow association that you agree with, there's nothing free about it.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's little things like that that kind of give me hope that the wind has begun to blow the other way.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that statement on global, for sure.
Yeah, when even the mainstream media starts thinking it's ridiculous, maybe it really is ridiculous. I particularly like the argument against the Ryerson's Men's Issues Awareness Society. The other two groups that were prohibited from becoming official clubs at their institution of higher education, if we can still call it that, were both pro-life groups, anti-abortion groups, if you will. The Men's Issues one, though, is the odd man out. It's headed by a female president, and half of its current membership is female. Yeah. But the Ryerson Student Union's argument for not allowing them to form a club is because men's rights are already covered by the Women and Trans Collective, and that because men have a systematic privilege, and a club like this can't be allowed because it would harass women and make them feel unsafe.
That's shenanigans.
Well, let's look at what that group let's look at what that group discusses that would be harassing to women. So it tries to bring awareness about issues that disproportionately affect males, such as higher suicide rates, homelessness, workplace injuries, and failure in school.
What about prostate cancer? That's another one.
That would be, but that's not listed, at least not in the article. I
hope that is a topic because, that means they're pro-cancer if they're not letting them talk about it, right?
I got to tell you, I really don't like pro-cancer groups.
Yeah.
Am I wearing it?
I'm against cancer, to be honest.
Yeah.
I am also against cancer.
So another great quote from this article is, I'd like to hear this woman talking about the woman that would feel harassed by this group existing on campus. I'd like to hear this woman, from her privileged position enrolled in a university, explain how homeless men have a systemic privilege, which makes her feel so oppressed.
Or how their issues are being covered by women and trans.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, everyone says I'm the most liberal. Oh, here comes the liberal Tim. And as a liberal, I hear what you're saying, but that's the problem with you people on the right, is you always want to hear the other person's perspective. Like the other side, you have these discussions, whereas liberals, we stop the discussion when we don't often talk to the other side.
Well, the science is in.
To be honest, as a liberal, I'm gonna have to fess up, and this is Ryerson we're talking about, and there probably isn't even an actual woman who feels harassed. They probably just made it up, like the Jordan Peterson thing. That you know what I mean? Like who was that? Was the teacher's aide or whatever that made that Jordan Peterson comment and was talking about Jordan Peterson, and then the Ryerson people said that it made people feel unsafe, and then it turned out there was never actually a complaint.
I mean, I can think of one person at Ryerson that might be offended, and that's sort of the director of the Diversity Institute, Wendy Sukier. She might be offended because she's offended by absolutely everything. So,
well, she's a professional victim. She's supposed to be offended by everything.
Yeah.
Let's go into something else with not higher education, but certainly the government indoctrination centers. Nova Scotia has introduced a bill to dissolve school boards in an education overhaul.
So
Nova Scotia, yes, sir. This is on the Globe and Mail, and the Nova Scotia government's taking the first steps in reforming its education system with a bill to dissolve its 7 English language school boards and take principals and vice principals out of the teachers' union. The same is not true of their Catholic French-speaking board. So
Yet.
Well, this is kind of interesting. So the reason to dissolve the school boards is because of disparate outcomes between the different boards. It's almost as though the standards are not being applied equally by all of the educators of these various. Jesus, stop dropping things on the thing. It's almost like they lost my train of thought. I don't remember.
Things aren't being treated equally.
Discussion, etc.
That different government school systems are providing different quality of education.
So, I'm really okay with this because this is a fantastic first step in dissolving government schools. If the omnibus bill could go a little bit further and just stop funding government schools, I would be very okay with this measure.
So I expected that's why you put that in the show notes, but I don't think that it's as good as what you think. I think this is temporarily until they can build an entire province-wide school board and just make it a larger government organization. I think that's ultimately what the plan is here.
I understand that is the goal, that they're going to remove the school board and just have all of the bureaucracy at a single level at the provincial level through like the Nova Scotia Education Board or whatever it's going to be instead of the 7 current boards that they have.
And then just lower the education standard as well, probably. Judging how
and that's the other thing. I'm surprised that they are actually doing quantifiable testing on the students in New Brunswick, because if you want to get rid of separate outcomes between different government education institutions, why do you just not, or why would you not stop giving the students tests, and then you won't have any data that says one is worse than the other? It's like taking away first place trophies and giving everyone participation award.
It's exactly that. Better Andrews is right. Like you just lower the standard, improve your success rate.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I said. Like
every time it works.
Yeah. I expect that this is ultimately where they're going to go with it. I just like to see them take it a step further and just stop funding schools in New Brunswick, or in Nova Scotia rather. New Brunswick too, and everywhere else in the country for that matter, because why do we have teachers unions, and why are they not delivering education to their students? And why are they not adhering to provincial standards? Also, why are there provincial standards? We're one country. Shouldn't we all have one standard? So I don't really see the value in this, except that it's a great first step that could be taken a lot further.
The one thing though is, were the schools testing on like different styles of learning and that sort of stuff? Like one is more hands-on technical and one's more knowledge and reading based or something like that? Or is it all just, this school does a better job at teaching this thing? Or
I believe one was teaching in English, the other was teaching in French. That's
okay. So they killed the English one and left the French one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, we're obviously like oversimplifying this just for jokes of this, but there's likely like socioeconomical reasons as well. Like, depending on what region that school board is operating in, can likely have more of an impact than the teaching method.
Yeah, like if they're right near the border, there's probably no reason to have the English one because everyone speaks French or something stupid like that. Or maybe one part is getting more transfer payments than the other, like whatever. It could be anything.
All right, let's do the next thing. I've got, geez. I'm going to have to edit this, I guess, because I don't have the audio actually on my computer to play it yet. And I want us to listen to the audio first.
Artie, go.
No, I don't know what audio he's talking about, so.
Probably the South African one.
It is, and I have it. I just don't have it queued up in the jingle palette. But if you give me just a moment, I will rectify that, and then we can listen to... I almost made the dude sound like a chipmunk. The president.
Frankly, the most common complaint I get from Canadians, from Canadian businesses, from people in general is you're not bringing in enough immigrants.
Well, that's a lie.
Every time this guy
Seemed like a good filler.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it. Okay, sorry.
I know where there could be some refugees.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. Let me...
God damn it. Are we ever going to get unskilled people who don't speak the language in this country, or what? Because I can drive a boat.
Let's talk about South Africa for a minute. I've got audio that I took off of the independent.co.uk and I edited for pauses and clarity. So this is the president of South Africa at 1.25 speed, regular pitch, because otherwise he sounds like the world's most hilarious chipmunk.
On Tuesday, South Africans, through their publicly elected representatives in Parliament, voted overwhelmingly in support of a motion to accelerate equitable land redistribution through expropriation of land without compensation. Some have become very hopeful, some have become very fearful. It is a question that we will continue to handle with care and with responsibility as the government. There will be no smash and grab of land in our country. That we will not allow.
So I'm curious, the ones that are hopeful, are they the ones that don't have land that are going to get it for free? And are the ones that are fearful are the ones that own the land that are going to get it taken from them?
No, you're close. The people that are hopeful are the people who don't have land but believe they will get land, but they won't get the land. Because they just want that person's vote.
So the government will just get all the land.
Yeah.
So, okay.
The part that I don't understand is that Andrew gets pissed off every time we talk about something in the U.S. because that's not Canada. And then he adds South Africa news.
That's what I want to address before we get into the nitty-gritty details. The thing that I want to bring up is I could only find 2 outlets from the UK that carried this story at all that were like legitimate mainstream news media outlets.
Yeah, but
it's not
we the media now.
It's true. I have a photo of me in front of the media building in Ottawa, so it's official.
So the reason that I want to bring this up is to point out the hypocrisy of our mainstream media in Canada is my first thing. And my second thing is South Africa is a democracy that works in a legislative fashion very similarly to our parliamentary democracy. So there are some parallels that I want to draw, because yes, we normally don't do other countries' news, but in this case, there's a lot of things that I find that we can draw some neat parallels with, like Tim already alluded to. There's about to be a bunch of refugees that probably speak English and probably have some sort of usable skills, since they currently own industrial farms, that are about to be displaced, most likely violently, by their government. But our government is doing nothing to offer them refugee status.
They're definitely going to be displaced violently.
Oh yeah.
Well, and that's the nitty gritty of what I wanted to briefly discuss with this. Is like this is a democratic action by a country's government to violently steal, and I don't mean like the way that we talk about like taxes. Like the government is going to expropriate these farmers' land and then give it to the poor people that they claim what it was originally stolen from.
They won't give it to the poor people.
No, they won't go to the poor people. This will be
divvied up amongst their friends.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is a terrifying situation, and of course our government and our media is doing nothing to bring awareness to the issues in South Africa. But we're happy to bring immigrants and refugees from lots of other countries that I can't see how they would bring us any net benefit. Yeah. Meanwhile, we have another democratic country where we have industrial agriculture operators and owners that could come here and produce lots of crops because we have lots of arable farmland in Canada.
Yeah. Well, the fact that, I mean, there's essentially, there's a genocide occurring, and no one's talking about it because, well, they're white, and we don't care about them.
Yeah, it's the white genocide. If anyone is interested in this, they can look into the farm attacks, number of farm attacks that are happening in South Africa. There's all sorts of interesting stories out there that are. It's kind of hard. It's not kind of. It certainly is. It's heartbreaking, really. But
well, yeah, the fact that they can just vote on violently, claiming land back. Like, I mean, and not even like Andrew was saying, the taxes where they just kind of there's a gun at the end of it, but at least they're not pointing it at you yet. Where this is like they're just straight up saying like we will violently throw you off your land, like straight up. No, they're not hiding it at all.
Yeah, going flat out.
This is essentially what the Russian communists did. They kicked the farmers off the land and then gave the land to and forced labor, basically.
Well, and what
the farmers in the gulags.
Yeah, and South Africa, those who don't know the history are doomed to repeat it. There's an excellent example of Rhodesia that you can look at. Very recently happened in the 80s. That you can see, you can foreshadow what's going to happen to South Africa, and you can even look at what's happened so far. You can see everyone knows, because we've all listened to the media. We know that apartheid was bad in South Africa. And now but you can look at crime statistics before and after apartheid, and you can draw your own conclusions. And I encourage anyone to do that if they're interested in the topic, especially. But I've seen interviews and they'll have a black individual, and he'll be saying oh man, the crime since apartheid is gone is crazy. It just went up like crazy. He was wishing, he was almost harkening back to the days before apartheid. But yeah, you're right. It's just something the mainstream media isn't addressing. And maybe if we were able to give the media some more money in Canada somehow, maybe $50 million or some small amount, maybe we could get more coverage on this. But
for just pennies a day, you too can convince the CBC to be real news.
To me, make your point. Apartheid. Yes, there were things that were done that were not terrific, but at the same time, it was some of the most stable, prosperous that region has seen.
Yeah, well, be prepared for disruptions in food in South Africa, because I have a feeling that the radical leftist government that's taking away the white farmers' land is about to starve their whole frickin' country. But hey, that's only my prediction. It's not like we've memed other things into reality on this podcast.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if they destroyed their crops and all that stuff and made the land infertile and stuff. Just to be sure. They're you kick me out? Okay, fuck you. You can't have this either.
Yeah, that was kind of my comparing it back to what happened, in Russia when the communists kicked the farmers off the land. It caused mass starvation because, they put forced labor in its place, and no one gave a shit, and no one had the experience or the knowledge to actually farm that land. You can't
just force them to farm, and they just know what to do.
Right.
Crack that whip and go farm now.
Yeah.
And it just works.
You have need, so therefore you get to be the farmer now. It's well, yeah, but he doesn't have the skill or the knowledge or the desire to farm.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the budget, I think. Marty, why don't you take the lead, since you're probably the most well-read on this subject?
Oh,
that's right, making you do work.
Are you implying my well-readness, Andrew? For assuming my well-readedness? Is that?
I know that you just read my summaries so that you can draw the picture every week.
Yeah.
This is actually this is the first budget in a long time that I have not actually sat down and read the entire budget beforehand.
Okay. So I started trying to read the budget. This
Yeah,
budget
most-
is actually worse than the last budget.
How is
Yeah,
it
it's
possible?
enraging to read this budget. It's a difficult to read.
It's almost 400 pages. I think it's 382 pages.
One second, I got
And-
it open. I had it open.
But remember in 2017 when the first like 2/3 of the budget didn't actually talk about like finances?
367.
This is like the
sorry for
first-
cutting you off.
367. Okay. So like the 2017 budget that we talked about, it was like the first 2/3 of the budget. They talked about like feelings and stuff before they actually talked about numbers. This one is like the first 300 pages talks about feelings before they like start talking about like real hard actual like math type economics and numbers. This is thoroughly enraging.
Equality plus growth, a strong middle class.
Oh yeah, the touchy-feely language in this.
So the feminist
equality thing kills me. Marty, do you have the word counts handy?
Geez, let's see. I sent them to you. Let me see if I can find them in my history here, because I did go send it all. All right, yeah, here we go. So we did. So one of the things I did, I started reading the budget, was just did a typical like a simple word search for various words, and then after noticing a trend, I actually ran the whole PDF document through like a word cloud type of thing to just determine what were like the most used words in the budget. And so some of the ones that were interesting to see were let's see, most used words in the budget were, makes sense, Canada 1,325 times.
Woo, Canada!
Yeah, government 812. Okay, that makes sense. The
Well,
third most
what government
used
is
term
that?
in the budget, women 692.
You know, I got to tell you, I love women.
Do you
Who
have
doesn't?
do you have a binder of women?
We have, these are just some of the higher ones. Indigenous 371, gender 339 times. Let's see here. What else do we have? Military, twice.
Oh, speaking of military, I heard from a friend who heard from a friend that the military has been passed the word to not publicly criticize the budget. So, but hey, at least we don't have Harper muzzling scientists, eh? Huh?
Well, I mean, the military. I mean, how do they even criticize the budget? There's no mention of them in the budget.
Yeah, how they criticize anything? They dropped a boat on someone's house in Florida.
So yeah, military is the word military is in the budget twice. The word forces is in the budget 9 times. But gender 359 times.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that gender, because for starters, we're going to add $2 billion over the next 5 years to the Feminist International Assistance Policy envelope. I am not entirely sure what that money goes to, but it sounds not Canadian and like a lot of money. I think we should probably not be giving them the money they're currently getting, never mind an additional $2 billion with a B dollars. That seems needlessly excessive.
Yeah, so I did actually look this one up to try and figure out where they spend their money, and I got nothing. It seemed like it was something that the Liberals created in the last budget, and now they're getting $2 additional billion, but I don't really know what they do.
Well, they're not. They don't paint like crosswalks, rainbows, do they? Is that the?
No, that's on top of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've also got new sort of pseudo parental leave benefits. So there's a proposal in the budget. It's not law. It's not a real thing, but there's a proposal in the budget for a 5-week use it or lose it parental leave benefit for fathers or other people that are biologically unable to have children. So if you adopt or whatever, where you'll get 5 additional weeks of parental leave.
So
At a cost of
$1
billion.
Wait, how much?
Sorry, how much?
At a cost of $1.2 billion over the next 5 years.
Really?
And $345 million every year after that.
So we're
That
gonna
sounds
need a
like
line. We're gonna need a line on a bunch of fucking orphans. I'll tell you that. You
Yeah,
guys know where
that's
there's
like-
any kids milling around?
So here's the question: we already
we can talk about native reserves because there seems to be a lot of money allocated towards representation of indigenous and non-indigenous children in private home foster care. So we can talk about that because that's another $450 million that's going to get invested for indigenous skills.
We could talk about that if you wanted to. Like I was like,
let Marty make his point, and then we'll move on to the natives.
No, I have a question actually about the parental leave. We already have paternal leave.
So my understanding is
a husband can take that leave. A husband can take the full year if he wants in place of his wife. Yeah. Either spouse can take that.
Yeah, it all depends on whether or not, like, if the husband doesn't have testicles, and he will take the leave.
Yeah, if the man can produce the milk out of his breast, then he takes the leave. Otherwise, the wife does.
Yeah, it's simple.
Okay. So what is this 5 weeks? What?
This is an additional program. Expanding on the existing parental leave, so you get the 1 year of mat leave that you can split up amongst the parents effectively however you see fit. This is to allow the non-childbearing partner to take 5 weeks that they are not currently entitled to under our existing parental leave policies.
Okay, so then simultaneously with?
As far as I can tell, yeah.
I believe it's in tandem with the existing leave policy, yes. And the existing leave policy, don't forget, they're going to stretch that out to 18 months now, but you get the same amount of dollars just over 18 months instead of 12.
Well, who gives a shit?
So what happens if a person... What happens if a couple decides to use the paternal leave instead of the maternal leave? Does he get, like, double the benefits?
No, I believe it's just over a longer period of time, but it's very poorly written. It's like 1 page in the 370 pages of document, and it's a proposal to say that we're going to introduce this 5-week program that non-childbearing parents can take advantage of to get them some gibs.
But here's the thing, though. Like, the purpose of them doing this is that they're trying to get women back into the workforce sooner.
Indeed.
The only way that makes sense is if that 5 weeks of the man taking the time comes out of the year that the woman is off.
And
that already exists.
I would have.
That already exists. Like, you can already split it up and take 5 weeks. So I don't get this. This makes no sense to me.
Well, I've got great news for you. Guess when it comes into effect, provided it becomes law? Immediately before the next federal election in June of 2019.
Oh my God.
Hooray, soundbite.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's like, I just don't understand. And also, I find it incredibly, like, offensive that we have an entire budget that's aimed around trying to get women back, like, in the workforce and out of the homes. I mean, repeatedly in this budget, it talks about how the fact that, you know, there's less women in the workforce than men, and that needs to be corrected. And it's like, you know, as if, you know, a stay-at-home mom is, you know, completely detestable, and we need to save those women from being at home with their children and family, and they must be out in the workforce, or else they're what? Lesser women?
It's important to remember that the concept of the traditional nuclear family is not even repugnant, reprehensible to
filthy fucking commies.
Right? The Liberal Party does not want women to be able to stay at home and rear children because that makes them inferior. Because strong, empowered Western women go and take up skilled trades or work in STEM fields because they're just as good as men. And if they're squandering their talent by, you know, doing arguably the most important job in society, rearing the next generation, their lives are squandered and meaningless. At least according to
I thought that the whole strong and feminist woman had the right and the ability to choose whatever profession she wanted, and if that choice is, you know, rearing a child and being a stay-at-home mom, that is her independent right and choice to make. What happened to that?
You want to send your children to a government-sponsored daycare facility so that you can go and participate in skilled trades like being a welder or a scientist, and then go and pick your children up from another form of government indoctrination center starting at the age of 12 months, sooner if they can. Because just wait for it. I'm sure that it's not in this budget, but I'm sure in future budget, the childcare issue is going to become a bigger problem, because this is why they went to the 18-month maternal leave program, because childcare for 12 to 18 months is incredibly expensive because of the ratio between children and care providers.
Mm-hmm.
Wait until they go to the Quebec system, which this budget is heavily modeled on the Quebec system of childcare. Wait till they go to the Quebec system where you just put your children in childcare around about 12 months, and then you just don't see them again until after they're done university. It's coming. It's not in this budget, but it's coming. Childcare is actually significantly lacking in this budget. That's one thing that I don't see what the Liberals were trying to do, because you would think if they want to get more women into the workforce, particularly in full-time skilled trades type jobs or STEM fields or other things that make them, strong, empowered Western women, you would think that they would want some sort of universal childcare program, but they don't seem to be doing that yet.
You mean the single largest barrier preventing them from re-entering the workforce? Do you think you'd go after that?
That's the barrier that I was expecting that they would tackle. And I don't understand why, because the government regulation of childcare is so intense. Like, the average cost in Southern Ontario for licensed daycare services for toddlers, children over 18 months, is something to the tune of $20,000+ a year for full-time care. Like, that's a lot of money. Like, that's
half of the average
money.
Wage of someone in Ontario, if not more.
More than half of the average wage earner in Ontario. Because if I'm not mistaken, that's $34,000. Maybe it's $38,000 a year, something to that effect. And this is $20,000 a year for full-time childcare on average in Southern Ontario. Like, it's
fucking ridiculous.
Well, it's baffling, and it makes no sense, because if they want more women in the workforce, I mean, okay, yeah, it makes sense to Marty's point earlier. It makes sense that the women would be the ones that stay home with the infants because of the whole breastfeeding thing. But you don't have to breastfeed your children. It just becomes incredibly expensive to formula feed children compared to the cost of breastfeeding them. It's like, you could do everything on formula, but it's just going to be, again, prohibitively expensive, just like the childcare is.
And then we got the problems with the formula and stuff running out, but let's get into a whole other tangent.
Yeah. Yeah. So some quality feedback on the YouTube. The triggered Canadian, let the government overlords raise your children. They know better. And he's not wrong. And yes, provincial governments are looking after children. Look at BC. Yes, BC does provincial level childcare. Quebec does provincial level childcare. Fortunately, the majority of provinces, that's not the case. But yes, the $20,000 a year on average thing in Southern Ontario is a steep fee to pay to return to work in one of those rewarding careers where you can make 33% less than men. At least until they finish meddling with the budget and they get that pay scale back on parity.
It's almost, I don't know why women should band together and vote for a feminist who's proud to be a feminist.
If only they could find one.
Jeez. I wonder what kind of socks he'd wear. They would wear.
Z would wear.
Yeah. Z. Or Zer.
Zay? Is it Zay?
So I mean, you talked about the equality of pay. Let's good transition. Let's talk about that one quickly.
Okay, yeah. So the gender equality thing's a big deal in the budget. This is a big NDP talking point, so I'm sure it will make a lot of NDP legislators very happy. So
yeah, let's not quickly. This budget completely ripped off the NDP's platform.
Oh yeah, this is the NDP budget. 100%. This is the NDP budget.
I just want to take a moment. I just want to remind our listeners: if you're ever out walking with someone and they say that they're planning on voting NDP, that just wait until they're at the top of a long flight of stairs and push them firmly in the center of the back.
And what if they're like Trudeau and they know how to fall down the stairs and do it for fun?
Yeah, here I'll show you. I insist.
The advice of liberal Tim is not considered legal advice, and
Yeah.
remember,
Nor is
this
it
is
not
a
a
legal
advice
advice program.
Yeah, nor is it
That's
considered bad advice.
Yeah.
I'm just,
You'd
it's
be
not
a
legal
fool
advice.
not to do everything we suggest. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm
But we
just saying,
don't
like-
offer legal advice.
it's important to remember that this is an entertainment program that we do. Back to the gender pay gap. So the proposed change in the budget.
Gender.
I've always called it gender, but I was recently told that was inaccurate.
I thought that was a place in Newfoundland.
I thought it was a male goose.
Moving right back into the budget. So, looking at federal government employees and federally regulated sectors, the current difference in real GDP per capita with women is, call it 33%. Not really, but what they're looking at doing is effectively paying women more, like if they're federal employees or they're in a federally regulated field of work, because there's pay equity legislation now, so you just have to do it. So I identify as a woman now. You have to pay me more.
Oh yeah, you can do
Suck
that. You
on
can
that.
put it on your driver's license and your passport and all that stuff. I wonder if you can get cheaper insurance too.
Like I understand the concept of same pay for same work, and that's what they're pushing in the budget is like equal pay, equal work.
No,
And
no, they're not. That's what I want. That's the big difference here that I
Right.
want to talk
So-
about. They are not
Okay,
saying
go ahead.
equal pay for equal work. I think we would all be on board with that. If they came out and said, like, yeah, if there's a woman doing the exact same job as the dude, sure, they're entitled to the same pay. What this budget is proposing is equal pay for equal value.
Yes, and this is the point that I wanted to make, Marty, is that they're going to pay the woman more artificially to make up the shortfall because they are not being paid enough in real dollars as it stands currently. But they're
Yeah,
using
so-
the guise of equal pay for equal work to make that happen.
Yeah, but it should be equal
Right,
pay
so-
for equal work with equal qualifications.
No,
There's a bit of-
I don't know about that. If you're flipping burgers at McDonald's and you hold a PhD, or you're flipping burgers at McDonald's and you're a high school
relevant,
dropout,
relevant qualifications. I
well,
mean,
that's what I mean. Like, what's relevant? You know, like you're worth what you're worth, right? You're worth what
But
you're
this
bringing
is
into the
the
organization.
thing, though, is that where the issue comes in is that there's, you know, we understand there's a disparity in the job roles that women are taking. And so now what we have is we have the government that's stepping in and saying, well, that job is the equivalent, it is as valuable as this job that is this guy's doing over here that's a competitive business, and therefore they must be paid the same.
Yes,
Not
and
two people
this
doing the
is-
same job, not two people even in the same industry. So somebody somewhere in the government is going to say these are equal value, and therefore they're paid the same.
And this is wherein the problem lies.
You know, like, I know I hate to do a tangent, but I've been drinking this bush lately, and there must be a lot of fluoride in it. And my nipples are getting really sensitive, and I think I'm beginning to identify
are they getting a
as,
little chapped?
as a female teacher in Ontario with 15 years experience, and I think I should be getting paid about $110,000. And I'll join my sisters in the teaching profession, of which, you know, the females have 82% of the teaching positions in Ontario, I think. So, but anyway, on with your show.
No, I enjoyed that small tangent. I apologize to our listeners for having to hear about your nipple situation.
Yeah,
So, you should
it's
get
a
some
small
like
sweater.
some bag balm or something and put that on there it'll stop them from getting chapped.
Or some coconut oil.
Yeah, that'll work too, probably.
It's very keto.
Yeah.
Yeah, the YouTube comments
it's
are
gotta be a
on.
healthy fat.
The YouTube comments are on fire with the pussification of the male role model and "You Go Girl." I think both of those comments are directed to Tim.
Liberal with the sensitive nipples. Anyway, I'm looking for houses. I'm now a teacher with 12 years experience. So
Yeah.
that's how I do.
know, that is-
amazing.
That is one of the best things to identify because that gender role comes with summers off.
Yeah.
Yeah, 13 weeks vacation a year, 18 sick days, and about 3 to 10% depending on training raise per year.
I have a feeling that in New Brunswick they're going to be looking for a whole slew of female teachers shortly. Once they revamp their program out there, so you might have to move. You might have to. Well, whatever, same difference.
You know what? I demand equality of the genders in two places to begin with: high iron and teaching.
All right, we're gonna move on. I've got one more item that is related to, but not expressly part of the budget. Coming to us from the National Post. Liberals allocate $13 million to programs helping low income get access to filing taxes.
You posted this, and I'm just like, can we just do a quick cost analysis and just go like, no, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
You don't get anything from you anyway. Fuck off.
Yes. Now let's get some excerpts out of this article, because this is pretty gold, and then we can go back and we can address some of the finer points of the what the fuck moment that I had when I tried to read through this the first time. The Liberals gave volunteer-driven clinics like this a boost in last week's budget, bringing annual spending on community volunteer income tax program to $13 million, allowing them to operate year-round. We'll come back to that. Some woman who oversees a tax clinic somewhere in Toronto said that many people using her clinic don't realize they receive benefits from filing a return. One of the misconceptions that our clients have is that they pay taxes. Our clients don't pay taxes. Our clients can only gain from submitting returns. The program affects 2,300 organizations and 17,000 volunteers who help homeless, Indigenous peoples, newcomers, seniors, peoples with disability file tax returns. The extra money will help manage growth for demands for these clinics, like the one in Toronto that we mentioned with the quotes. Again, coming from the person at that clinic in Toronto, we realized very quickly that while we were providing the service to our shelter clients, there were a lot more people in the community who also need access to getting their taxes done. The reason this is all being done is, according to the Canadian Revenue Agency, there was research done. They interviewed a whopping 31 men and 11 women, and amongst those 42 people, 31 filed a return.
Where's the equality?
Well, more men, believe it or not, more men are homeless and rely on shelters than women. Shocking, I know.
I don't think you could talk about that.
I'm sure I'm going to be accused of wrong think shortly, but
sorry, is that the privilege they speak of?
That is your male privilege. You are privileged to be more likely to be homeless if you have a penis.
An independent liver. I gotcha.
Yeah. So a common thread was daily concerns that took priority over administrative tasks like filing taxes, as well as chronic issues such as mental health problems, said some other fucking useless person. These people have really complicated lives, said the useless person. Managing these types of chronic conditions while living in precarious environments like shelters or rooming houses or on the street is a fairly difficult experience. I will gladly open this up to the session of the panel because I have read the points that I intend to revisit.
Okay. Do you know what's a difficult experience? Paying off a mortgage.
Owning your own business and paying your fucking taxes?
Your own business, paying your taxes, paying off your mortgage with a handicapped wife and 3 children. Like, I'm sorry someone steals your box every 3rd day, but like, it's just like...
I know, like, this is there are so many things about this, like, okay, so let's start with the fact that this is a volunteer program. Why is it being allocated $13 million? It's volunteers.
If they had a problem with it, they should just go and get a job doing it, and then they get paid for it.
Yeah.
Right, so I don't understand
They're
why
fine
there are
with not getting paid.
Yeah.
Right, there are. So why are we giving them $13 million to have volunteers help people do their taxes?
Would you volunteer if you didn't get
People
paid?
that don't need to do their taxes. We're helping
Sure, I
people
volunteer
that
for
don't
lots
need
of
to do
things.
taxes to file taxes.
The YouTube comments again. Consultant fees. I like that. That's probably what the $13 million is. Maybe advertising for.
Yeah. If any of our listeners happen to be in this where they don't make enough money to actually pay taxes, but you have to file your taxes, don't go and use this. Download TurboTax and use that, because guess what? If you don't have to pay taxes, the program is free to use, and all you have to do is take your T4 and copy over the boxes that are numbered into the boxes that are numbered on the computer program. That's it.
If we're giving bad tax advice, allow me to turn people onto a program called Simple Tax. It's like TurboTax, but it's free for everybody. It's donation-based software, and
even better
return. It's a simple return. If you're putting in like a T4 and maybe a T5, or if you're putting in T4 and like a T10, 14, whatever the education return is, like if you don't have investments in property and stuff, like if you're effectively a homeless, unemployed person, just you could all, the other option, if you don't want to use the free software on your MacBook at Starbucks, you could always just go to the post office and get the hard copy form and just fill out the boxes.
Yeah.
So hang on a second here.
Go ahead.
Your advice for the homeless person living in a box is that he should download Simple Tax on his
MacBook at Starbucks.
On his smartphone, which is better than my fucking smartphone. I see them at Tim Hortons.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, so yeah, if you're, I mean, I know that I'm making a light of a lot of people's situation, because there are certainly people out there who do need help and should receive it, and I'm all for that, because if you're part of a community, you should be helping your community. But the government doesn't need to be funding that.
We're talking about does not file taxes, whether or not there's a volunteer place to file his taxes for him or not.
Right, and that's what I'm talking. So if you're like a low-income wage earner, yeah, I mean, I'm all for taking it, because I'm kind of torn about this, because there's tax advantages to be had, and I, as a tax shelter small business 1% owner, I want to take advantage of all the tax benefits that I can, and I strongly encourage malicious compliance of the tax code, because the government is trying to take as much of my money away from me as I can. I should absolutely do everything in my power to try and retain as much of that money as I can, and so should everybody else.
Is you a greedy 1%er?
I love that post this on Facebook. Someone wrote on their tax return where they're owing money or something like that. It says, "You're asking more than I can give."
Yes, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that is good. No, the issue that I run into with this, because I think everybody should take advantage of as many tax deferment opportunities as they can find. I am all for that. My problem is that I have to pay a lot of money to a professional accountant to take advantage of all of those opportunities, because again, 1% small business, et cetera, et cetera. I am beside myself with the fact that the government is looking at opportunities to give more money to net tax recipients. These people objectively are not contributing to, these people are objectively not contributing to society. They are a net tax draw, and the government is doing everything in its power to give them more free stuff.
That's called signaling, isn't it?
Where does the government send the return check to?
It makes no business sense.
Yeah, someone in the comments said, how do they file a return if they don't have an address? If you're homeless?
They list a third cardboard box under the overpass on the street.
Large Amazon box.
Yeah. Next to the the washer and dryer box.
I know, like I am very torn on this issue, right?
If they really want to help, they should just put like ads in the bottom of the T4 to that free software that'll help you out. And boom, you're not going to be spending $13 million. It's going to cost you a little bit of extra ink, and then anyone who is paying tax is going to get that. All I have to do is read one thing in the bottom.
A flat tax.
Or that, perfect. But they're of course not going to give up all the tons of money that they're getting and spending on stupid shit.
So that's the other thing.
It's that they're giving up the wealth redistribution. That's what they won't give up.
And ultimately, that's where I was hoping we would end up with this conversation, is where Marty has taken us. Is if it were up to me, I mean, obviously, we would not be paying taxes to any government or agency in the first place, because, as we all know, taxation is theft.
That's true.
If we're going to live in a society where we have to pay taxes to those government agencies, I absolutely want to disenfranchise and remove as many people from receiving net tax benefits as possible, because I shouldn't have to be somebody else's slave so that they can receive an income tax return when they are not working. 40% of my income goes back to the government to be redistributed to people who aren't contributing to our society. This infuriates me. Those people need to be disenfranchised. This is a method to get people to vote Liberal because of the signaling. Look at all the great things we're doing. We're helping all of these people. We're giving all of these people money. What they're neglecting to say is we're giving all of these people your money. This is money that you earned. We are violently taking it away from you and redistributing it against your will to people who will vote for more of the same in the future.
I'm putting the country further and further into the shitter every single year.
So I'm just curious. So this is $13 million you said for this program? Was that the number?
That's what it says in the budget, $13 million.
So, I wonder how many legs we could buy for Brock and his buddies with $13 million. You know, just out of curiosity.
I would hazard a guess that it would be at least 13. I would think a leg is probably worth about $1 million a pop.
Yeah, I mean, and we don't even need to give them they certainly deserve the best leg, but if we give them one that's just good enough, I would say at least 13, if not more. So at least then there'd be 13 people that are actually benefiting from this money instead of nothing. We're spending money to collect taxes from people that don't make enough money to pay taxes. Is that not the stupidest thing you have ever heard? A government says a lot of stupid shit and spends money on a lot of stupid shit, like a skating rink that doesn't work in the cold. But this is just nonsense.
It would appear that we have a new listener on the YouTube, and yes, saying that taxation is theft is an oversimplification. The listener that's providing the feedback, and I thank him for that feedback, is absolutely correct. Taxation is theft is an oversimplification. Taxation is actually more like armed robbery or extortion if you want to get into the finer points of how different forms of theft work. The reason that we say that is because if somebody takes your property, it is theft. And yes, we are oversimplifying that. But the earnings from my labor, my money, if it is taken away under threat of force, is theft.
Yeah.
I understand this is an oversimplification. I strongly encourage you to look up an author by the name of Hans Hermann Hoppe and look up the non-aggression principle and the libertarian movement. Don't look at the American or Canadian libertarian big L parties. They have been co-opted by the Marxists. And as
is
I mentioned,
really no property when we don't have property rights?
Yes, because I have guns.
I like to think that taxation is theft just on the basis that it is not consensual.
Well, yeah. Well, that plays into it because there's no way to opt out. Everyone goes, "Oh, it's a social contract," which would be great if there was a way to opt out of it.
Yeah, but when the current government has racked the deficit up $58 billion in the past since its inception, that's debt that's going to be handed down to my children, and it's without their consent. They're not going to care about a rainbow crosswalk that was painted in BC back in 2007.
50 years ago. Yeah.
They're not going to care about $50 million invested in Canadian media back in 2017 or 2018. It's not consensual. It's the same thing that it's just the difference between sex and rape is consent, and that's why taxation is theft. There's no consent. There's a lot of the standard. It's just you've been indoctrinated into a system that's controlled by the statists, and you have to really think for yourself. And that's all we're saying is we're telling you, think for yourself, and really how much money does the government spend on things that you just do not agree with. And that is the basis for the argument that taxation.
There's no way for you to
agree, but you don't have a choice. You have to pay that. If not, you'll try not paying your taxes ever.
Well, yeah, there's like I said, there's no way to opt out, right? Like you want to get a job and make money because you need money to live. Okay, great.
Let us know what the outcome is. You try not to pay taxes and see how.
But to work legally, you need a social insurance number and all that. And once you get that, you have to give that to your employer, and then you have to pay tax. There's no way to opt out of that. And if you get caught, working under the table, what do? They come and say, well, you owe us back tax, this or that, or whatever, or threaten to jail you and do all that stuff. So there's no way to opt out of that system. So like you're saying, like there's no consent because you have no option. But technically armed robbery, like Andrew said, but to make that simple, in a nice 3-word little phrase, taxation is theft.
But when I can go on,
I can't tattoo more than that on my penis. That's really the problem.
Well,
I run out of space after that.
Yeah, I mean, you could try writing smaller, but it does need to be legible.
We don't have time for this. I will read the YouTube question for our listeners to ponder. At some point in the future, we could perhaps try and address this. We've addressed this on previous shows, and I don't have the episode in front of me, but I will try and intern and find that. So the question becomes, how would you be able to form a society that is functional without government? And if you were the leaders of that society, what would it look like? And I don't know that you can form a society without a functional government. My problem is that our government is massive and does not represent me or my values in a meaningful way.
How big of a society are we talking? Because if it's just like the panelists here, I'm pretty sure we could all hang out like on a compound somewhere and
that becomes the problem, right? Is we have to have physical real land assets that we can enforce a border on, and any group that enforces a border is a de facto government, right? That's how it works.
I would say it'd be more of a co-op, which sounds really hippie and leftist.
It's just a certain type of government. But I mean, yeah, if you're going to be a nation state of some variety, you need to be able to enforce your borders, which is to protect your wealth and resources through force in some means, which
you have
to have some form of government.
One of the few things I'd be okay paying a tax for.
Yeah. Well, and really, to me, that's all we should be paying our government for is our country's national defense, and we shouldn't be getting involved in stupid wars for other countries' benefits.
Or giving countries billions of dollars for no fucking reason.
We definitely shouldn't be doing that.
Year after year to the same countries.
But the thing is, if you take like let's take someone who enters the workforce without secondary or post-secondary education, and they just enter the workforce and they work their entire life from 18 to 67 at age of retirement. If you were to eliminate even half of the taxes that they would pay on average, then you could remove 9.8 years of their working career. That's what we're talking about. This is like wealth is just it's skill and whatnot applied to like a business to create income. And governments to just come in and take that when we have very little recourse is at least worth discussion.
Yeah, so I would encourage listeners to go back and listen to some of our earlier content with basically anything with Tyler on it. And also specifically to listen to episode 55. You can find that at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/CPP55. That's where we have Jewel. Jewel's the executive producer of Slamfire Radio. Congratulations to Jewel and Matthew on their recent offspring, by the way.
Yes, congratulations.
Jewel declares herself the queen of effing everything. Apparently, that's how government would work in her world.
Yeah, we objected to that because I believe we are kings of effing everything.
It's an interesting.
We're going to move on first.
The topic is deep, and it goes against everything you've been taught all through the public education system. That's why it's so difficult to
indoctrination system.
But there's some
moving on. We're moving on.
Solution is a Starship Troopers-like military model where you have to serve to get franchised.
Tyler couldn't be here tonight, but we hear from Tyler anytime I can play that drop. Let's talk about guns, because it's that part of the show where we talk about guns because everything else has upset me, and guns are guns are basically the only thing we can talk about on the show that don't make me angry all the time, only most of the time.
Can I just point out, we didn't even touch the deficit. We tweeted the entire budget that he mentioned.
17 point something billion.
We could do another hour on the budget. I'm ready to talk about guns because it's making me sad.
I agree.
I think it was 17.6 billion with a B.
Well, according to his campaign promise, I think we're supposed to be at $5 billion deficit this year with a balanced budget next year.
Balance the stupid fucking budget.
So it's going to balance itself finally?
No, they changed their mind. It's going to be deficit again next year.
Well, fuck.
I think it's like they're projecting deficit out to like 2040 something. Like it's not going anywhere.
We're only 1.7 trillion in debt. Why don't we just keep making it worse?
So we have to keep
The budget will balance itself.
We have to keep electing them until then for it to balance itself? Is that how that works?
No, kick them all out of helicopters. Start over.
This actually gives me tremendous confidence.
Perfect timing.
I keep forgetting I have a whole thing of funny things. Guns. Let's talk guns.
Let's talk guns.
Let's talk guns. So the first gun that we're going to talk about, we've got an article, TV Press Pass. Shout out to our buddy Wally over there. There's a new pistol caliber carbine coming from Lockhart Tactical, all Canadian made, for just under $1,000. 9mm AR-15 style. AR-15 modern sporting rifle type. I don't know what they're calling it.
You mean assault weapon?
It looks like, but is not an assault weapon.
Yeah. Or a patrol carbine, depending who owns it.
I don't. This looks. I'm sorry. This isn't the $1,000 one. That's the next gun we're going to talk about. So the Lockhart Tactical Raven 9, made entirely in Canada, is an AR-15 looking firearm that will take Glock magazines and fire 9mm. Retail is supposed to be $1,250 Canadian, made entirely in Canada. Looks super neat.
Yeah, carbon fired barrel. I mean, it's pretty slick.
Yeah, 18.6-inch barrel. It's 14.6 R stainless R5 button rifling. So on paper, it reads that it's going to be a very accurate barrel.
5.5 pounds.
Yeah, 5.5 pounds. M-lock rails threaded for additional attachments in 3, 6, and 9 o'clock position. Pick rail down the top. Dual ambidextrous charging handles. Side or top style or both. It looks like a non-reciprocating charging handle, although that is not in the literature.
Top charging handle. We're not French.
I believe it'll be, from what I've seen, because I've kind of been following this, because I do like the pistol caliber carbines because they're fun. It looks like it'll be very similar to the JR. So you'll be able to put like a little nub charging handle on either side, or an AR-ish looking charging handle.
No, it looks like the same as the AR charging handle.
Yeah, when they're talking about the top charging handle, they're talking about the AR paddle on the upper receiver.
I don't think it'll function the same way per se, but it will, because it's non-reciprocating, so it's not going to like slam back into your face when you shoot it and stuff like that. But I don't know if it functions exactly the same way as an AR charging handle. But it looks like it'll be
similar in style.
It'll look the same. So the part that you grip should be the same. Pretty cool.
So early on, when they didn't have the handguard with this, it seemed
stupid,
rather fugly. yeah.
Stupid.
But
I just kind of like. And I kind of put it aside. I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. I mean, I've been on them full Canadian rifle, and I looked at it again. I don't know, only a week or so ago, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, it actually looks decent now. They added the handguard, and added a few other things. I'm like, oh, it looks really nice now.
Yeah. The handguard on it, it's a 3/4 length optional handguard that's set up for M-lock, so it looks like it's pretty cool. It's full length top Picatinny.
Way better
3, 6, and 9 o'clock M-Lock. Yeah, well, M-Lock Master Race, obviously.
Yeah. Fuck Keymon.
Now, $1,200 Canadian for a rifle with a carbon fiber wrapped barrel that's a very reasonable price.
Well, especially when I look at what I paid for my JR, which is essentially the same thing, but no carbon fiber barrel, and like it's only left or right side charging handle, not like an AR style one. I paid roughly the same price, a little less, but roughly the same price, and not Canadian made.
Yeah, like I'm looking for a carbon fiber wrap barrel for an AR right now, and that price is pretty close to the price of this rifle.
Yeah. I mean, if I did not already own a JR, I'd be all over this, and even though I do, I'm still kind of. So, like I said, I like pistol caliber carbines. They're fun to shoot because, like, it still feels like you're shooting something, unlike a 22. But you can shoot it all day. Your shoulder doesn't get tired. It's cheap. It's great to teach people on. And if it's going to function essentially like an AR with that charging handle, that'll be a great training aid for getting people into something, a little bit bigger and whatnot. Like so I'm still looking at getting one just because I like it. That, and I mean, Lockhart Tactical is a good company. I bought a bunch of stuff from them. Certainly not the best like 911 supply who like sends your shit out like that day, but they are definitely in top 10, I would say, in terms of customer service for companies that I've personally dealt with. I don't ever have anything bad to say about them.
I just need a single stack version of this.
Yeah, I mean
that's not a thing. No, we're not entertaining Marty.
It's not a thing. It's not a thing anyway. There's no somebody make a single stack. Yeah, somebody make a single stack pistol caliber carbine. I'd be all over that.
JR does.
No, the camp carbine that takes the Colt. No, they're not the JR carbine. The JR carbine is subjectively terrible. There is a thing called a camp carbine that uses 45 caliber 1911 mags. I think it's made by Marlin. There is really a gun that does that though, Marty. Yeah,
Marty,
it's the Marlin camp carbine.
I'll to find that.
If you'd like
Marlin
to try my 9mm JR, they also make one in 45 that uses 1911 mags.
Yeah.
So they do. The only bitch is you need to clean it fairly regularly.
Well, and that looks like, I mean, that's a common problem with blowback power, blowback operated pistol caliber carbines. At least the Raven looks like it's more of the traditional AR upper lower like hinged assembly that you can take it apart and then run a patch down it. Unlike the JR carbine where you have to use screws on things, because screws on guns makes me think maybe the most qualified engineer wasn't involved.
Yeah, for the JR, you basically have to take the buffer tube off to clean it properly because you got to pull the bolt out and everything. So hopefully the Raven is not like that. I mean, it's hard to tell based on the photos, but it does look pretty fucking slick.
Yeah, it does look
price.
I mean,
and I think it does also take AR-15 triggers. Because the pins is like in the same spot, and they don't have it on their list, but on one of the pictures it points at the trigger.
Yeah, hopefully it does, because like the JR does. You can drop in pretty much any AR trigger pack into that, and it'll work. So hopefully they did the same with that. Because I know Samuel, the guy that owns Lockhart, did a bunch of like market research by sending out like surveys and shit like that to people in the Canadian gun community.
Did we mention this is all Canadian made?
Yes.
I don't know, but we should mention that again because the all Canadian made stuff is cool. The spec sheet that I saw from TV Press Pass doesn't specifically say the trigger is AR-15, but the vast majority of the accessories are the pistol grip, the buttstock. It takes Glock mags. Did we say lifetime warranty on the barrel? Like this looks super cool. And for a pistol caliber
we did
carbine,
not say that.
No, we did not. That is.
I am excited, and it says it's got a toolless takedown, so not having to use a screwdriver again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Well,
looks
that's
like
the
the
way.
standard
Russell,
push
not in the
pins,
bad way.
just
Yeah.
slightly modified. But yeah, no, on one of the pictures, it shows AR-15 compatible parts. It points at the buck stock, the pistol grip, and the trigger.
Nice.
So hopefully the trigger is the same. The pins look to be in the same spot, but I can't put calipers on the picture to see if they look the same.
I can't imagine, like, if they're going to make it
Oh, that
similar
attitude.
enough.
I don't want to scratch my screen.
If they're going to make it that similar,
Before we move on to the next thing in gun news, because we have one more gun thing, I enjoy the spirited discussions currently going on in the chat. If you're not watching the show live Monday night, 9 o'clock Eastern time until whenever we get drunk and pass out, I strongly encourage you to come and listen to the live show Monday night and participate in the comments. I am not entirely sure what's going on with VWA or possibly NWA, although I'm not one for rap music. NWA, I don't mind listening to that because any day that I don't have to use my AK is a good day.
wow. If we were allowed to have
Also, well, I can't have an AK, but if I could have an AK, a day that I didn't have to use it would be a good day.
And
I'm also not sure what's going on
NWA.
with the American stats. We're not going to argue about American shooting statistics on the YouTube, but I wish you the best of luck with that plan. Let's talk about something coming from Wolverine Supplies. Well, and I guess also Kodiak Defense. Kodiak is the, as I understand it, manufacturer. Wolverine will be the distributor. There's another new non-restricted firearm coming out. This one's not pistol caliber. It's the Kodiak Defense WK-180C, and this is going to be in 5.56 NATO, or 223, same difference. This one is the one that I was thinking about. The $1,000. This one is supposed to come in at $995. It's effectively an AR-180B variant. So it is not an. It is not an AR-15, but it looks remarkably like an AR-15 because it is in fact based on the AR-180B, which is another design by Armalite Rifles and by Eugene Stoner that is very similar in design to the AR-15. So it takes AR-15 accessories. It's confirmed it will take an AR-15 trigger. It uses Stanag pattern AR-15 magazines, pistol grip, buttstock, etc. This one's going to be 18.7-inch chrome moly, medium heavy profile barrel, 1-in-8 twist rate, comes with an A2 style flash hider. The exciting thing with this one is going to be the gas operating system. This is a short stroke gas piston system, so this will be similar to your AK style gas system, or what's the VZ858, CZ858 is short stroke or long stroke?
Long, I believe.
Long, I think.
Yeah, because the piston is quite long. Yeah.
Well, that's not how that. The length of your piston does not determine the size of your gas system. But
sure
thanks for coming.
Sure it does.
So for anybody that remembers the old AR-1,
you said VZ58.
Yeah,
it says it's a short stroke.
That's what I thought was the VZ58 was a short stroke gas system. So many guns, so hard to remember. I know for our YouTube audience it's following.
I've been drinking. You can't, like,
they're having a hard time keeping up with all the gun technical stuff. But for the people that remember the AR-1,
Gavin for drinking and putting money into the tax system so the government can spend it. Thanks, Gavin.
Thank you.
It's like 40% taxes right there in and alcohol.
Yeah. Oh, at least
a true patriot, Gavin. Thank you. Always willing to lend a hand. Anyway, Andrew, you were talking about stroking.
Yes, I was gonna short stroke.
Yes.
So the AR-180Bs, I swear to God, the AR-180Bs were stamped thin gauge material for the receivers. These, although they're based on the 180 design, are going to be CNC'd out of T6061 aluminum. So this will be like your standard aircraft grade aluminum CNC type stuff that you see on ARs. This makes me well, because it's 6061. That's what they call it. It'll fly, right? Because it's 6061 T6. This is a common material for manufacturing AR-15 components.
It's aluminum. Yeah, it's made out of aluminum.
It's aluminum. It's a block of aluminum.
6000 series aluminum.
Is it aircraft quality aluminum?
You make?
No. Right.
Aircraft grade, not aircraft quality.
Could you make an F-18 that flies upside down with it?
only if you conduct. Top Gun reference. What is it? Internet or diplomatic relations, international relations. What were they doing when they were flying the bird?
I was thinking international relations.
Yeah, when they're conducting
They
international.
were communicating. Yeah.
They were communicating about a meter. This is also going to be M-Lock Master Race handguard. It looks like it's another proprietary handguard, but it'll run on M-Lock, so good stuff. Full length 1913 pick rail on the top again. It's black, like all guns. All good guns should be black, just like the Raven was. I don't know if we mentioned that, but it'll be black. Non-restricted. I'm super excited about this because this. I kind of want an AR-180, and this is pretty close to that with what looks like the potential for some improvements.
Yeah, I'd say this would be better.
There is one disclaimer to mention with this. Go ahead.
I was going to say there's an important difference between the WK-180C and the AR-180, and it's going to be the way that the bolt works because they've set the 180C up to be compatible with standard AR-15 barrels. So you have your regular barrel with your receiver extension, and you're going to be able to use a standard barrel nut, standard AR-15 barrel nut, to secure the barrel to the upper receiver. This changes the geometry of the bolt, so it'll be a slightly different bolt from the traditional Armalite AR-180. But that also means the barrels are going to be super easy to interchange because you can stick an AR-15 barrel in it. And again, that makes me happy. Sorry, go ahead, Marty.
So one disclaimer I was going to mention is that this gun actually does not have an FRT yet. So this is being sold without an FRT.
True.
On the basis, so this is not an AR-180B. This is but based on the same platform, they discovered that they do not need to wait for the FRT to start selling, on the premise that they're confident that they are going to get a non-restricted FRT, but there is some risk there to purchasing this. That is the one thing just to be aware of.
Yes, I agree. And I mean, it's pre-order, so plunk down your $200 and hope for the best. But based on the email,
it's full cost up front, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This was
$1,000, and they're shipping rifles before they get the FRTs. Like they're going, and they're confident that they're going to get a non-restricted whenever it comes through because they've based it on a non-restricted design.
So did you guys see the email between John Hipwell at Wolverine and Bill Etter at the Firearms Lab?
Yes, that's what I'm referencing, yes.
So I feel based on that email, the odds are good that they will not have an FRT problem.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
But they don't have it yet.
Sorry, were you saying that they're
don't,
shipping it out to customers before they got the FRT number?
Yes.
Okay, so what happens if for some stupid ass reason they market it as restricted or prohibited?
I know.
If it's restricted, you'll have to register it because it will become a restricted rifle. And if it's prohibited, I imagine that we'll find ourselves in an interesting legal predicament because you're now in possession of prohibited property.
But they don't.
And Wolverine will have just sold a prohibited device. I honestly, I don't know what would happen if it were to come back restricted. It would be a shit show for sure.
Is that one of the times where you get off the soapbox and move on to the last one online?
Yes. I don't know what soapbox I'm on. Did I steal any?
I don't think that's likely. Like it seems it seems obvious they should end up with an unrestricted. But there is a little bit of risk there if you're plunking down $1,000 that it could end up being a restricted rifle, not a non-restricted that you expected. And that's only if the government pulls government type things where they just do fuckery for no good reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's always the potential of that too, right? I don't know. Did you guys have anything else? I don't particularly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I threw down money for the Maccabee Defense SLR because I think that's a pretty cool platform and it'll definitely be the contender with this. It'll be a little bit more money, you know, maybe like $500 to $1,000 more by the time you put one together. But the plus side is that, like, other than the receiver set, it takes all AR parts. You know, this new one from Wolverine will be, you know, 95 or whatever you want to call it percent, but like that bolt will not be an AR bolt. It'll be a proprietary bolt, which could potentially lead to issues down the road. You know, like if there are problems with it, you know, will availability of it for warranty purposes, or if it's out of warranty, maybe it'll be cost prohibitive because you can't just go and pick any AR bolt and throw it in this rifle and away you go. But it'll probably be, you know, at least half the price or 2/3 of the price of, you know, the SLR. So there's some pluses and minuses to it. You know, you got to throw down the full cost up front. And if they don't have an FRT, that could totally be a shit show. Like, hey, I've got this gun that's now prohib. Fuck.
Maybe I finally get my prohib license that I've been after since I feel that it is an ageist policy to prohibit me from having a prohibited license since I was not old enough to acquire firearms
but
in
that being
1995.
said, like, it does look fucking cool. And you know, the price is reasonable for something in, you know, this, for lack of a better word, caliber of rifle. You know, like the cool tactical style modern sporting rifle that is something that you could go hunting with. You know, so I would really love to see one once they come out and get my hands on one and try it out and see what it is like. Because I think it's cool, and I want more companies to do this, especially Canadian companies, to build stuff like this, because I love seeing that. So, like, kudos to them for doing it and making something a little bit different. I've
been kind of keeping my eye out for an AR 180B, hoping that I could find one at a reasonable price. And so this coming out, that you know, completely fills that need. I guess probably lots of people that would be interested in this. It looks like a great rifle. The FRT thing, like, I don't think it's gonna be much of an issue. It's just worth mentioning. Is that, you know, something to be aware of before you put down your pesos on this.
Yes, those Canadian pesos. All right, let's talk about upcoming stuff. We've got Ragnarok Tactical is going to be at TACOM. TACOM's happening, Firearms Outlet Canada in Ajax, March 24 and 25. Gavin and I, Benny, Angela will all be there. I don't know, Marty. I heard you might be making the trip.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Are you going to wear a balaclava so that nobody knows what you look like?
I'm like,
gotta get the hate blockers.
Yeah. If I wear a balaclava, then everybody will know who I am.
But they won't know what you look like.
That's a good point. So TACOM's going on. TACOM is full up. I was actually talking to another individual in the firearms industry today who just learned of TACOM, and unfortunately, while they have great gear, doesn't look like they're going to get a booth. I'm trying to work out something so we can have some stuff to display for them at our booth. We're doing paperwork right now. More details to come on that once it happens all legal-like and we get the lawyers and the accountants involved to make sure our I's are dotted and T's are crossed. TACOM, March 24-25. We'll be there. We have all of our stuff. And I have great news for everyone who has taken the initiative to pre-order a Mantis X shooting performance system. Orders gone in, got the shipping notice. We're going to have those well before TACOM based on our current delivery date. If you pre-ordered a Mantis X, I'll be mailing that out to you as soon as they come in. And if you didn't pre-order a Mantis X, well, I guess you better get on the website and buy one before they all get sold at TACOM. Pricing for the Mantis X is going to be $199.99. This is the lowest authorized price for any, or the lowest price of any authorized Canadian retailer. And as always, anything from Ragnarok Tactical, $10 flat rate shipping anywhere in Canada. So I challenge you to find a better price.
Also, what's the other deal we inked today? Ultima? Do you want to talk about that?
Okay, we probably have shoes and boots coming. We have to talk to the lawyers about that. We probably have some rifle cases and bags coming. The lawyers still need to review the paperwork on that, but I have a bunch of new product lines that we are likely to have in our hot little hands in time for TACOM to show off.
Yeah, so if you want some cool like multicam Chuck style shoes, you know, get on. We come out and visit us, man. We'll probably have that shit in stock for you.
All right, let's do the 8th annual Canadian Firearms Podcast or Charity Shoot. If you like guns, and you should like guns, going on in New Brunswick this year, July 5, 6, and 7th. This year's charity is going to be the Dalhousie Regional High School Breakfast Program. Day 1 is the Furlachi handgun class. That's probably full up. Day 2 is the Maple Seed. I don't know. That's probably full up by now, too. Day 3 is Saturday, July 7th. That's the actual charity shoot. The actual charity shoot starts at 9 a.m. The cost is $25. We've been over this all before. Check out the Restigouche Gun Club website for details or email slamfireradio@gmail.com. Make sure to include a dick pic for Trevor.
Or clowns.
Oh, a clown dick pic would be the best.
Yeah, you forgot to bring that up the last couple of times. I just thought I'd remind you.
All right, let's do the rapid fire feedback.
Can we start a new hashtag like clown dicks out for Trevor? Or like clown dicks out for Furlot?
Is that a microaggression?
No, that's a full-on macroaggression.
I don't know. I think that's against free speech.
Yeah,
that could be only an
now,
average.
Is it against clowns or against Furlot?
Both.
Are either people?
I'm going to just defend everybody. That's my plan.
Defend everyone.
And I'll probably be wearing some like Rhodesian camo short shorts the entire weekend. We're out there.
Slot some floppies.
Yeah. So, you know, that's how I roll.
Better Andrew, do you want to take on the first rapid fire feedback?
Oh, this is okay.
Super fucking awkward.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it.
Is it your own feedback? Because
nope. Apparently, this guy's better than me. One of the best Canadian shows out there by objectively better Andrew. I kind of feel bad. It seems like there's a couple people better than me, but
that's okay because you're still better, Andrew.
Okay, so I'm.
Oh, you know what? On the subject of better Andrews, I want to thank a different Andrew, not you or I, but Patreon Andrew, epic beard Viking looking Andrew on Facebook.
Yeah.
Definitely not me.
For making the suggestion of talking about the WK180C because that was courtesy of Patreon Andrew. And I totally neglected to give him credit where it was due. My most sincere apologies. Carry on with your feedback, please.
So, other Andrew.
I never miss an episode and love the show. Would be great if they could just come out and say they don't have Rodgill Taka booked for an interview. I'd also agree with even better Andrew, though not superior. I guess he's talking about me. The guys need to diversify their liquor showcase because as we have all been taught by the government re-education camps, diversity is everything.
My liquor cabinet is quite diverse. If you go through the back catalog,
I have clear liquor, I have brown liquor, I have kind of orange colored liquor.
You know,
I'm still waiting for that super cheap wine, Gavin. Box wine.
I did scotch.
Gavin's on his own.
I did scotch today. I will do shitty cheap wine next. But seriously, I think we need to do another. I think we need to do another daiquiri night.
No, more daiquiris.
Objectively better Andrew, when you find something better than beer and whiskey, you let us know.
Fair.
It's a good point. Let's do the Facebook feedback. This came from Chris. I condensed several messages that I received from Chris, so I apologize for not reading this as it was written, but I've edited it for brevity. Howdy, I just caught on to the podcast 2 weeks ago, started at the oldest I could get on iTunes, episode 20, and at 53 now. Loving it. I heard mention on one of the episodes about a manual reload setup, and I was curious if you had an equipment list available for an affordable 5.56 9mm reloading setup. Also, I appreciate the message you guys are are spreading, and I have mentioned this podcast to everyone I come across at work on both sides of the spectrum. And 2 are now going for their unrestricted 2 weeks from now. I also may be bringing a coworker with me to the range who 2 weeks ago told me that only the police and military should be armed in any manner and that guns should not exist civilian side. I want to thank Chris for his feedback. Chris and I had a short discussion about this, and I told him we'd bring it up on the show. Based on some conversations we've had, we're actually probably going to do a series on reloading. But in the short term, I have some suggestions for Chris. Everyone else is, of course, as always, free to chime in because that's how we do the panel. Look at the Lee Anniversary Kit. That'll probably run you about $200, or the Hornady Lock and Load Classic Kit. That'll probably run you about $500. But in my opinion, is a better quality kit and comes with an electronic scale instead of beam balance and is preferable. I also am partial to Hornady because I started on the Lock and Load Classic Kit and I've loaded tens of thousands of rounds on it and it works quite well.
Take it from me. Do not cheap out on a scale. If you measure something 3 times and you get 3 different results, it's not a good scale.
So I was actually going to make the comment of take a look at the RCBS Rock Chucker kit. It comes with a beam scale, and having compared my beam scale to Andrew's digital scale, beam scale is way more reliable.
Okay. So let's bear in mind that digital scale we knew was going weird and is over 5 years old, and I'm pretty sure got dropped when I moved, which is why I've replaced it with a laboratory grade scale now.
We knew that scale was questionable. Were you under fluorescent lights?
But when it came from the factory, I believe it was reasonably accurate for what it is, which is like a $50 scale. It's not great, but it's not bad. Yeah. I don't know what the prices are on the RCBS. Does the Rock Chucker kit, is it complete? Does it have everything?
It's got everything you need. Yeah, but it's normally a little bit more, but like Prophet River usually like once a year has it on sale for like half price.
Nice.
They do like
is it me or just like calling it the Rock Chucker kit sound a little on the nose?
Yeah, a little.
It sounds like cultural appropriation. Really?
No. He said rock, Tim.
A Rock Chucker.
I don't want to be that guy.
I just came back into that one.
So yeah, look in coming weeks/months. We're probably going to record a whole series, and I'll release them as short segments on specific reloading topics. Good for you for getting into reloading, Chris. Take a look at those kits because they are available, and the kits are the Lee kit and the Hornady kit are effectively complete with the exception of dies. I would assume the RCBS kit is similar, that it's effectively complete with the exception of dies.
Yeah.
RCBS makes good dies, Hornady makes good dies, Lee makes cheap dies. Not saying there's anything wrong with them. I just I prefer a more finely machined component. So
I'd
just bear in mind
Lee is cheap. And it was a Lee.
That's what she said.
If you know you're going to get really into reloading, or even if you're not too sure, and make sure you're very meticulous on the stuff, you can start off with a Dillon 550 or 650. You'll be able to sell that for exactly what you bought it for if you buy it used. It's just you have to make sure that you know you're going to reload a lot. Like 223 and 9mm, you're probably going to reload a lot because you're probably going to shoot a lot. So I might look at that, but you have to really make sure you take your time when you first start off because it's a lot harder.
Starting on a progressive has a very steep learning curve.
Yeah. Now the other thing is,
I was going to bring that up because if you are, depending on how many rounds of 9mm you go through a year, if you're a volume shooter where you're going to go through a lot of 9mm, you got to go progressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's leave the rest of that for the reloading series. I want to congratulate Chris on getting his coworkers to take the non-restricted firearms licenses. I would strongly encourage them to take the extra day and get their restricted firearms license and save themselves the paperwork because I know a guy that did the non-restricted route and then had to go back and do the restricted thing, and it was kind of a pain in the ass, right, Marty?
No,
small aside.
I challenged the RPEL. I did that before it changed.
Yeah,
so
before the law changed. You didn't have to do the whole course.
I didn't have to redo the RPEL. So but it was still an annoyance that I had to go and write the test again, I guess.
Challenge.
Yeah.
But the from the Fuck Cancer charity shoot 2017, like Scott's friend and one of his coworkers went and got their pals on the weekend. So
Nice. Kudos to him.
Oh, that's
Dude,
awesome.
That
That's
guy was
awesome
a
to
good
hear.
shooter too. He's definitely, definitely got a good start.
Yeah.
Because he was in the squad for that, and he was
Yeah.
doing really well for someone who's never shot before.
Yeah.
I think we need to get Scott out to get his too, though.
I was just thinking, what the fuck? Why didn't you take it with your bud, man?
I mean, I'll gladly throw in to get Scott to go take his, man. The more gun owners, the better.
Yeah.
Now we can start voting as a block.
Well, one thing at a time. Let's try and wrap the show up before we form a new government. Andrew, where can everybody find you on the internet?
You can find me at andar.ca.
What's your other website though? The better one.
Okay, I guess that is me.
Get your meaty drivers. Get your meaty drivers fired up.
Take the mask off, Superman. Betterandrew.biz. As Andrew said. I have a .biz right there.
And that is the best.
It is the pinnacle of 1998.
You know what you're missing? You're missing a picture of your cat.
I can put a picture of my cat, and as Martin said when it was brought up, I can put a under construction GIF under there somewhere. But as Inferior Andrew said in previous episodes, wear your sunglasses and put in earplugs when you go to the website.
Yeah, it's
If by earplugs you mean like your headphones and turn the volume to max, I agree.
Oh yes,
Yes.
It goes to 11 for sure. Gavin, where can everybody find you on the internet?
The best place to find me is on Instagram at urbex_GTA. If I did have a Bumble account, you would not find me on that any longer because they are banning pictures of guns, which oddly enough, in there, we're not going to put photos of guns and we're banning it. They use a FAL, not a picture of an AR, which is kind of a weird choice.
Yeah.
FAL Master Race. Is it in rhodey camo?
Rhodesian.
It has to be in baby cute green rhodey camo.
It would be a guy in short shorts with little tan
shorts.
Yeah, little tan boots.
So I just have a question. Bumble, are they gay? Because if so, how brave of them? How brave of them to be gay?
Yeah, I think they're trying to take the grinder market over. So Bolivar is probably on it, but
Good for them, though.
You won't you wouldn't find me on it before, but you certainly won't find me on it now.
Yeah, no, you have a right.
But yeah, Instagram's the best place to find me, or at the Toronto Sportsman Show on the St. Patty's Day weekend, probably drunk and or hungover because I'll be working the CCFR booth, and then at TACOM with Andrew.
Friends.
Yeah, I got kicked out of that.
What? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we've the beard.
I've been excommunicated. I mean, I'm still friends with all the cool people.
Yeah,
but
you got a beard.
Yeah, I know. I'll tell you the story in the
club.
I'm sorry. I brought it up.
No, it's
I
cool.
Guess we're probably throw the whole episode out.
No. It's it's cool. It's kind of like ripping a Band-Aid off, so it's a little painful, but it's cool.
Yeah, a Band-Aid off your foreskin.
Dude, that hurts. I know.
I am ready to move on. Marty, where can everybody find the show?
I don't know. I'm kind of distracted. I want to hear the rest of Gavin's story now.
I'll tell you guys after.
Tell us about the Band-Aid.
Where can everybody find you?
Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast, CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback, or you can email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Has anybody ever emailed feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com?
Yes.
Is that even a managed
4 times,
yes.
I think.
Yes. Many times. It works fine.
Earl just sends us cassette tapes.
I have an actual thing. We've got a bit that I have to finish.
Okay.
Do the thing.
I know. Do the bit. Do the bit. Okay.
Is it a cassette from Earl?
No, but we have had a very spirited set of comments in the YouTube live chat tonight, and for Melody's Ritmo, hopefully you're still listening to the end of the show. I know the end of the show can be a little rough for everyone, particularly me.
Particularly non-drinkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. If you want to have a serious discussion about firearms laws in Canada and you can argue in good faith, I would be more than happy to have you on the show for a one-on-one. You and I can discuss firearms laws and where you stand on them, and I will happily listen to your argument, provided that you argue in good faith and will allow me to articulate my position. If you'd like to be on the show, you can do that. Feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com or go on the website, CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback. Drop me a note with your contact information, and we can have an intelligent, honest discussion about firearms, because I think that you're wrong to want to ban them. Oh, and suddenly the YouTube comment about VWA makes sense. It's Gavin's shirt that says NWA.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out why they were talking about NWA in the YouTube comment like an hour ago.
No,
It's
my
hours
t-shirt.
later.
Dude,
Whatever.
NWA.
I wasn't listening. Anyway, point is, as always, my name is Andrew. You've been listening to CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. As you can tell, we have a very full panel, so Rod Giltaca was unable to join us on the show this evening. For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I would like to remind you that you are the true north, strong and free.